Hello folks, my name is Space. Here playing Crowfall. If you haven't heard of Crowfall, it's a kick-started MMO RPG that's based loosely on, let's say, a game of Risk. There are campaigns that are going to be developed. They have rule sets, gather the most ore, craft the best item, kill the most people, hold the most points, whatever those conditions may be. And when you accomplish them, you get a certain amount of materials or things or experience or whatever it may be for doing it. So let's say there's a certain type of campaign where you go on in and you capture the most points. You get by holding the most siege things, and at the end you're able to take 80% of your winnings out. There are also ones where you either get 100% or 0 for winning. So there's a lot of cool rule sets in the future. They call it a throne war simulation, and currently we are in pre-alpha. So what does pre-alpha mean? Pre-alpha means that gameplay, you should expect gameplay to drastically change. Right now, we had a wipe just about a month ago where the characters and the equipment was wiped in preparation for this patch. Why is this patch so important? It is the introduction of the movement controller. So the way that your input, your mouse, right, your mouse here, goes to your computer, out to your computer, to the client, to the servers, and then how other people see. That's part of the movement in the client controller, right? So I do something and affects somebody else, and in between the server telling us both how that looks. That was a big, huge change. They also updated lighting and did some sort of changes to PvE and PvP. That was all good stuff. What I wanted to talk about was not so much the so apparent things, like the movement's much better. The feeling of crowd control feels stronger. It used to feel like, and it's such a subjective thing, I hate that to say that feeling, when you got CC'd, there were very easy ways to get out of it because your character didn't feel rooted into the world. Now in Crowfall, it feels like your character is much more a part of the world, and it seems stronger, which means that things like a knockdown or a root have more of an impact on both PvE and PvP. So what I wanted to talk about was where the game is now, where I'm hoping it's going, and kind of have that little discussion that we're going to clip and throw onto YouTube. So right now in the game, we have the Eternal Kingdoms, God's Reach, and Campaign. God's Reach is supposed to change into something different than it is right now, or at least that's what we were told initially. And campaigns right here are based on 3 factions. We'll get to that more in a second. Your Eternal Kingdoms are basically where you get to put down and build your own sort of stuff. We've used it as a place to do PvP and Fist of the Empire. I use it as a place to craft. This character doesn't have access to my other Eternal Kingdom, but if I could boot it up, you would see just a bunch of tables that are just sitting there. So I come in, I craft, I play around with some of the big parcels, and then I leave. For other folks, it's a place for them to set up trade empires and stuff like that. Again, that's going to be coming and more fleshed out in the future. God's Reach currently is like a newbie island. The initial intent when we were first told is that God's Reach is going to be a different type of campaign, but right now it's kind of a standalone thing. I'm expecting a shift of that in the future, but we'll see. And now we're gonna dig into campaigns, and I hope you can bear with me. I need to sniff my nose really loud, and I don't want you to hear that. But I do also want to talk about where the community is and the game is now with campaigns, and what I think should be changed in the future. So 1 second. All right. God's Reach equals new player experience. So God's Reach equals new player experience is what's been mentioned in chat. what I'll say is if you were to look at the old Google, I think the idea of what God's Reach was a little different, but not that that's a bad thing. Crowfall, God's Reach. Yes. Where's the old image here? Because it used to be. Yes, right here. Here's a nice picture. So I will throw this up. This again, this is that's not what I wanted. This is older, but this was how we were initially told about what something like God's Reach would be. And again, it's changed. I know who she is. Seriously, now I'm over here because I closed my thing. Give me a second because I'm all over the place now. Hooray. So let's drag this over here. Let's not be bad. All right. So once again, this is something that has changed. So as you can see, that is what's changed. And we're going to discuss that briefly. So Eternal Kingdoms, God's Reach, Infected, Shadow, Dregs. Second Monday, right? God's Reach and 3 Faction is what we're currently doing. The reason I bring that up to even discuss it all is because of, again, where things are now. The Infected is supposed to be based on gods. Not sure if that's still something that's going to be coming out. The Shadow, which is Guild v Guild, which I know a lot of people are looking forward to, should be interesting. Again, I'm sure there's a tech part of that where, you know, if Goon Squad's bringing 1,000 people and I bring my 10-person guild, how's that going to work out? The answer may just be recruit more brah. And then there's the Dregs. So I wanted to at least throw this up there if you're new and you're like, what is Crowfall kind of based on? This was kind of the beginning. Now we've seen a little bit of a change, which is good. Right now, again, I swear I used to do this old professionally. We have the Eternal Kingdoms, God's Reach. God's Reach is now the new player experience. If you're new and you're coming into God's Reach, I want to let you know that there are a ton of things that are not explained, described, and I can guarantee you they're coming, because one of the important parts of retaining folks and engaging them is to explain how the game works, how you interact with things, right? And us as the community, we spend a lot of time telling people, like, go get a guild, go do this, and then you get force-fed. Like, it's like the Matrix. It just downloads all this information. This is how this works. This just changed. But there are often standalone people who come in to check out the game. If you're one of them, you're like, I want to know about this game right now. Please give it a chance and take the time to ask questions in faction chat, here on streams or wherever, because there's lots of knowledgeable people who want to help you out. And I mean, I'm not a developer, but I'm pretty darn sure this is something that is going to change. We're going to show you the different types of gathering materials. We're going to teach you the different gathering nodes. What's the difference between a regular node and a mother node? What's the difference between what a hunger shard is? And part of that is watching how that changes as well. You know, spiders used to drop disciplines. Spiders don't drop disciplines anymore. Now it's bosses. Which bosses have which loot? All that stuff changes. But at least the basics, we're hoping we'll start getting into God's Reach, because when you come in, it's kind of rough. It's like, well, what I have a pick, I don't have a good pick. What's the difference in picks? Can I make the picks? Where do I make them? That should start becoming more of a smooth transition of knowledge of, here's my crappy pick, here's my next pick. Ooh, I went and made this one. This one's even better, so that it's more seamless. That being said, that should be happening here in the future. Again, we're at 590. The biggest thing that I have right now is the discussion about Crowfall and the campaign. So here for pre-alpha, we're 5.9. there is I, I have a concern that there are new folks coming to the game that are interested in the throne war aspect. They're not so much just here to gather, not here to craft, but they want a PvP. And I get a lot of feedback from newer folks because you stream, or because you're on Twitter, or even on private Facebook at home, and you're talking about this. And so they come in and they make some paper clothes and make some paper stuff, and they're like, I want to go out and do some PvP. And then they face somebody who's been in for 2 months longer than them, who has really, really good gear, and they get stomped on. So then they say, well, there's no point in playing. Why am I going to play? It's becoming more and more apparent as this sort of social political dynamic is changing. This is 3 campaigns. Excuse me, there are 3 factions. And there have been a lot of folks that have, with this new change, either taken a break or they're not actively playing Crowfall because the stretch between folks has gotten so wide that what you're going to see, and it's super apparent, you could take 5 people decked out with good gear and with the right disciplines, with the right knowledge and execution, and they can stomp on 20 medium people or 50 brand new people because of, well, I'm going to say Blair math. And I want to mention to the new players who may be coming in and seeing this to not get discouraged. There are system things that have not even been balanced yet. There are glaring things with class balance, right? The flavor of the month is to play Centaur. Why do you play a Centaur? Well, because they have a speed boost, they have an organic support or attack boost, and they have a non-DR'd armor break, which all you gotta do is run into some people, and they're instantly going to take a mitigation that you can't really find anywhere else except the passive training system. More on that later. So why would you play anything else? That's silly. There's more of a tanky, beefy front line with... there used to be little emphasis on CC. Now there's more of an emphasis on CC. If you're brand new, you come into this stuff, you're like, dude, I just want to fight. I don't want people to come away from Crowfall and think that this is going to be the end result. What you're experiencing in pre-alpha now is people that have been playing for a very long time. They execute very well. They have the best gear. There was a huge bug just recently, so there are some organizations that have buckets and buckets of materials that they probably shouldn't have, that are able to make whatever they need. This will not be the same for when the game goes live. And right now, one of the things that we're going to do here, at least through my organization, is we're going to encourage new people and other guilds to come on into one of our EKs, and we're going to do like fight nights. We want to do 2v2, 3v3s, 5v5s, and then bigger groups as well, depending on if we get our Eternal Kingdom fixed. And let people kind of take off all their gear. I mean, the passive system does kind of give you a leg up, but it's not ginormous. Put on some regular, just paper weapons and fight each other. Work on how do the classes work, how do these disciplines work, and kind of have more fun, because it seems right now there's a lot of struggling with things in the game that need to be balanced. And the more that you put on, the more gear, it just can be discouraging. And I don't want people in the community to be discouraged. I want them to be encouraged that these balance things will change in the future. Me personally, I keep trying to submit stuff to the game where possible, whether it's on the forums or an email, of changes that could help. I also have to be aware that it's still pre-alpha. There are balance things that are just going to be broken because the priority is, well, okay, we fixed this. We got the movement controller in, now we got to smooth it out, which means we got to focus on, the technology of smoothing these things out. And then, our next big thing is going to be like a 6.0, and maybe we'll see some class balance there. Maybe we'll see some gameplay. So that was my big thing I wanted to say for pre-alpha Crowfall right now, is the experience that you get as a new player, as some of these smaller, newer guilds are seeing, that this when the game is balanced, when the game is more optimized, when we have more than just 3 faction campaigns, you will have a different experience. So that's what I wanted to share with anybody who's new, anybody who's interested in the game, that there have been a lot of changes over time. Pre-alpha is pre-alpha. We are going to see lots of changes in the future, and especially to those people who seem to be getting, whether it's frustrated or angry with things, to just remind them that things are going to change. And for me, as a tester first, my goal is to submit as much logical, rational, non-mad about whatever feedback from here, because I know that as a gamer and as a user, I may see things differently. The developers are looking at a spreadsheet or looking at whatever, and they don't quite see, I think sometimes, how all those systems work together. So that's part of our job, is to be like, hey, by the way, did you look at the fact that Stoneborn has a negative, but Centaurs don't have one? They've got like 6 positives. Like, where's the balance there? And this one has this. What about that? I'm really confused that this system works this way. I'll give you an example. The newest thing I put out there was for alchemy. There's at least I started a discussion about, you got bones. There's different kinds. If I put in epic bones, I still get the same potion. Can we get that upgraded to something that feels real? Vessels. You start at gray. You go to green. Gray is total garbage. Green is super cracked out, and then it gets even crazier from there. There should be kind of more of a gentle curve, I think, so that it feels like you're improving as you go up. And I don't have a full spreadsheet on that, but what I know is going from gray to green is like poor hobo nothing to like a billionaire, and then it just gets nicer from there. But even those are incremental. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't feel like I've steadily gone up. And it's one of those things where, like, they just added armor, so you see this variable that tells you how strong something's supposed to be. But even within that system, it's kind of flawed, because certain stats are more viable than others. So I'm not quite sure what that number is based on, but hopefully we can send more data to the devs. Like, this is supposed to be really good, but health is not as important as reduced crit chance, because people are maxing out crit chance on these duelists that are plus 9,000 dexterity, whatever it may be. But that's going to be it for the YouTube part of this. My name is Real Blank Space. This is Crowfall. This is pre-alpha. These are just some perspectives at the 5.90 or the 590 patch. If you're brand new, please continue to hang out. Please don't think that because you go out on a crafter and get rickrolled, even though you're max level, that is going to be the end experience for you. Ask questions in your faction chat. Ask questions on the forums, on Twitch streams. There's a pretty solid community willing to help each other out, and I hope that as we see things continue to get better, we will see things get balanced out, and the Throne War game that a lot of us have kickstarted very hard with our dollar bills turns out to be a phenomenal game. Thanks, I'll see you next time.